to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
If you don't say we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
What you call a police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was alive. The president never gave me any deadline.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on Global Morning. I'm Uyag Mofwego. You're watching Global Television, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. It's a delight, as always, to be here. And what more can I say? We're grateful for the life that we have and for the blessing of another day. Yes, I know you want to say you have challenges, you're dealing with a lot, you're going through so much, but whatever those experiences may be, as unpleasant as you may consider them, the much more important thing ultimately is the fact that you do have life and you're not even hospitalized, for example. You're not on any life-saving medication, so to speak. So be grateful for that already, because they say where there is life, there is hope. So that's one thing we can run into this day with. All right, again, welcome to the program. Promises to not only be loaded, but with very important conversations about how far we've come this year 2024, which ends in a matter of days, for example. And then, of course, to highlight those timelines for you, what is exactly that we've achieved as a country, and also talk about things that we haven't achieved. Yes, I didn't say things we can't achieve. I said things we haven't achieved, all right? Because most times, drawing that distinction between both can be a bit of a blur. I mean, the line is often blur for us when you talk about things that you can achieve and things that you haven't achieved, because some things may not just be so much about whether or not you're making efforts as they are about the time at which those efforts will pay off. And Nigeria appears to be having that experience, because some things will have to go through, if you like, incubation process, and policies are part of them. The president had said before now that, look, no matter what we do, some things will take time to pay off. We can make all the efforts now, we can put in the work, make the investment, get the right hands on board, and just continue to work our fingers out. But in the final analysis, it will take time for some of these things to come into fruition. That was at about the same time when President Bola Tinubu said that Nigeria has seen the worst of economic hardship. Well, that's not a conversation just yet, but the point being made is that there is time for everything to cycle out, incubation, like I said. But yesterday evening was eventful for Nigeria and Nigerians, because for those who have followed politics and, well, the news, say since 1999 till date in particular, you realize that presidential media charts, or if you like, media pally, tended to be more popular in the days of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, because it was more like a recurrent decimal. You had more of those interactions between the media and the president coming up at regular intervals. And the former president, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, appeared to have kept a bit of that tradition, even though the schedule changed again in his time. But for the first time after a very long time, yesterday evening, the president did sit down in Lagos with a group of expert journalists to look at what the country has achieved and where Nigeria is as a country today. What are the challenges? What efforts are being made by governments across board, particularly at the federal level, to address those challenges? And of course, as expected, many of the issues that matter to Nigerians were put in front of the president, and he did provide answers to those questions, and even went further to expatiate on some of these issues, just to ensure that the wrong and twisted narratives are not only corrected, but that Nigerians do have the right information about these issues. We're going to walk you through the highlights of this conversation in the course of the show today. But let's not forget that one of the things that the president did talk about was that he has no regrets suspending payments, or if you like, removing the fuel subsidy, because according to him, it was long overdue. However, it will appear that for several reasons, previous administrations had not been able to pull off that action. Well, that's all behind us now, because as it stands today, for a year and 7 months, we do know that fuel subsidy payments have been suspended in this country. However, the interesting thing is what has happened following that removal is where the conversation is today. But the president has also been very, very unequivocal about the fact that, look, nobody would expect or ever expected that there won't be backlash on account of that action, that removal, because according to him, it was just going to be a matter of time before it was removed. So the backlash, the repercussion, and all of the implications were naturally expected. Again, he reassured that Nigerians will have cause to smile real soon, because he said that while we were paying subsidy, we thought we were in a good place because fuel was selling for less than 200 overall. But what we didn't know as a country, what Nigerians did not know, which many persons have also alluded to, especially within the rank of the APC, the ruling party, is that the country, in a manner of speaking at that time, was eating its future. All right, eating what generations yet unborn ought to enjoy. But, well, let's see how this all pans out in the final analysis. We're taking a quick break. We'll back shortly, and the rest of the program will continue. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper review, latest news with experts on key global issues,
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper review, latest news with experts on key global issues,
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
One of the highlights of yesterday's interaction between President Bola Tinubu and journalists in the course of the media chats is that the tax reform bills, of course, which are in front of the National Assembly at this point, have come to stay. The president says, look, our tax system in this country has long been overdue for reforms. We should have worked them, overhauled them, re-engineered them, fixed them long before today. Therefore, he says, look, there's no better time to do this than now. But there's a problem. The problem is you have people, even some within the APC, who say that wide consultations were not carried out prior to the president sending these policy proposals to the National Assembly. So for them, it was a case of placing the carts before the horse. But you have people in the north, for example, all 19 state governors are now saying that the best thing to do at this point is to say, look, no matter how far you've gone into the wrong road, once you realize that you're on the wrong path, the ideal thing, the sensible thing, the honorable thing to do is to reverse, is to turn around and go back. On account of that, they're saying that the best thing to be done at this point is to recall these tax policies, these reforms as being proposed, including the aspect of it that has to do specifically with the value-added tax, which is the VAT. But the president says, no, we're doubling down. We have to go on with this because it is vital for our country at this point in time. It is what we should be doing, what we ought to have been doing in the first instance. But the question is Nigeria's problem really about getting more taxes, receiving or pushing for more taxes, or bringing more people into the tax net? In other words, if you put that differently, are we supposed to be talking about VAT in the sense of saying, let's raise VAT from 7.5% to 10%? Because when VAT was 5% in this country a few years ago, even under former President Muhammadu Buhari, there were people who said, look, the best thing to do right now is to raise it to 7.5%. And it has been like that for a couple of years now. Yet you have people who say, let's move it all the way from 7.5 to 10. Just recently, some interests did say that it should even be 15%, for example. In the middle of all of these debates, you have those who believe strongly that whatever Nigerian government, under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu, is doing at this point, particularly as it has to do with policy direction, it is all coming from the IMF and the World Bank. And that makes you pause for a second to say, look, doesn't mean as a country we do not understand our own problems, we cannot find homegrown solutions, or we just don't have a mind of our own to think out, to analyze these problems and profile indigenous solutions to them. These are some of the questions agitating the minds of many people in this country as of today. So the question again would be, what are these well, legislative proposals proceed or not, whether they make progress beyond this point or not. Where does it leave the everyday Nigeria? Now, don't forget that part of these proposals is that there is needs to harmonize revenue collection so that you don't have a wide range of revenue collecting entities across the country. Therefore, there has to be a bit of centralization, like if you like, a clearinghouse of some kind. That's part of what is being proposed right now. But at what point will critical stakeholders be on same page regarding these proposed reforms that have to do with the tax system in Nigeria? Well, it's part of our conversation on the program this morning. We're taking a quick break. When we return, it will be time to bring you big headlines from across our national dailies. Do stay with us. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper review, latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
No better time to bring you big stories from newspapers this morning than now. Let's begin with the Daily Trust for you. 30 headlines immediately beneath the name plates of it. It says top left corner, Lassa fever killed 190 Nigerians in 1 year. Lassa fever killed 190 Nigerians in 1 year. That's the Daily Trust newspaper. That's according to the NCDC, Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Allow Dam acts before another disaster strikes, Zulum tells LG. Allow Dam acts before another disaster strikes, Zulum tells LG. 14 killed, 1 injured in fresh Plateau attack. 14 killed, 1 injured in fresh Plateau attack. Quite sad. Hopefully we don't see a situation where a state of emergency or some sort of curfew is also imposed again. But we have this story on the front page of the Daily Trust this morning. We're going back on tax reforms. Tinubu, yes, he made that much clear during his recent his recent media chats with journalists. Let's take it down further ready to know. Security beefed up in FCT stays ahead Christmas. Security beefed up in FCT states ahead Christmas. You can find those details on page 30 of today's issue of the Daily Trust newspaper. Let's see 3 headlines at the foot of the paper. Adamawa creates 7 new chiefdoms, Emirates. 800 terrorism suspects acquitted over lack of evidence. 800 terrorism suspects acquitted over lack of evidence. All right, what more do we have here? It reads, bandits snatch foodstuffs, drinks from man on bike. Bandits snatch foodstuffs, drinks from man on bike. So the bandits themselves have become desperate as well. That's quite an interesting read here. But that's the much you can bring to you from the Daily Trust newspaper. Let's now look at the leadership quickly, the leadership newspaper. All right. Excuse me. Let's see what the first one is here on the leadership newspaper. It says trending food stampedes, sign of rising poverty. That's the PDP they're talking. Numbers, no part of Nigeria has 50% basic health facilities. You can read that up on page 2 of the leadership newspaper. CDS tasks newly decorated generals on fight against terrorism. CDS tasks newly decorated generals on fight against terrorism. Presidential media charts, no regret for instant removal of petrol subsidy. That is according to President Tinubu. That headline has 4 riders with it. Says Nigeria was eating its children's future. Insists economy on course to recovery. Declares not going back on tax reforms. I won't sack any of my ministers. Northern students reject tax reform bills. Northern students reject tax reform bills. You find it on page 7 of the leadership newspaper today. FIN3 creates 7 Emirates chiefdoms in Adamawa. FIN3 creates 7 Emirates chiefdoms in Adamawa. Troops kill 13 IPOB members. Troop kills 13 IPOB members. What more can we find for you? Well, that's all we have from the leadership this morning. Please do not to find to pick up copies of yourself of these papers and read details. And then we move on to other papers now, but this time is the Tribune. The Nigerian Tribune is our next point of call. Let's see what it says above the name mast of the Nigerian Tribune. Here the first one says, top left corner, Office of the SSA to the President on Livestock Development to transform livestock sector in collaboration with real people concepts and backing of stakeholders and community engagement. MG commences 50% discount transportation palliative for 144 routes across Nigeria today. Directs transport US associations to comply. Nigeria nominates Olufemi Elias as candidate for World Court Judge. Nigeria nominates Olufemi Elias as candidate for World Court Judge. Tax reforms have come to stay. Tinubu is the one to whom that is credited. Tax reforms have come to stay. Well, the president has never been secretive about that. But let's see what the writers are telling us quickly. Says government open to consultations. I have no regret removing subsidy. He insists. Removes our plan to reduce size of cabinet. Feed crisis. We have no other choice. Let me see, but to improve production. 2,000 contracts or contractors coming to boost mechanized farming. 2,000 tractors coming to boost mechanized farming. All right, these are all stories coming away from the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Let's see just 2 more before we're done. You see a man on the front page holding a cock and then another cock beside him in the canvas. What more do we have? It says Economic management team alerted on food crisis in 31 states. Economic management team alerted of food crisis in 31 states, with the rider charts calls for stability growth. All right. 2025 budgets, FG to establish ranches in Lagos, Ogun, Imo, others. 2025 budgets, FG to establish ranches in Lagos, Ogun, Imo, others. You can find that story on page 4 of the Tribune newspaper today. All right. That's the much you are bringing from the Tribune. The Punch newspaper is our next port of call. The Punch newspaper, that's our next port of call. But until then, let's take a quick break. When we return, we'll look at the Punch newspaper for you and see some of those big headlines, including some of them replicated across dailies this morning regarding the media chat that President Tinubu held yesterday. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper review, latest news with experts on key global issues,
and at the same time keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper review, latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Let's take it to the punch now quickly with the headlines above the nameplates. Top left with a picture of Comrade Joe Ajaero, President of the Nigerian Labour Congress. Here it says 935 naira per litre petrol. Labour faults new price, demands further reduction, and the writer tells us high fuel prices major contributor to hardship, says NLC. LG rolls out 708 vehicles today, house fares. What's more, adjacent the nameplate of the Punch newspaper, a picture of Edo State's Governor Monday Okpebholo. PDP tackles Okpebholo over LG chairman's suspension. Star Story reads, no regrets removing subsidy, tax reform will go ahead. Tinubu has one rider with it. Tax reforms to end colonial-based assumptions, no plan to downsize cabinet. And the foot of the paper, bottom left of it, says budget, LG prosecutes terrorists with 708 million naira. SSAs get 2 billion naira vehicles. NAPTIP reunites 1,200 trafficked victims with families. NCDC activates emergency centers as Lassa fever surges. The numbers don't look good with regards to Lassa fever, by the way, but then that's how we leave it with the Punch newspaper this morning. Let's turn to the Nation newspaper. Then the big one first. Here says, how we will bring inflation down from 34.6% by Tinubu. That's on the Nation newspaper. How we will bring inflation down from 34.6%. Then you see the writer here says, President speaks to Nigerians on critical national issues in first media chart. Abductors of 18 bus passengers in Ekiti demand ransom. Those details are on page 6. 271,704 passengers to enjoy federal government's fare slash. Makinde signs 684 billion 2025 budget. Makinde signs 684 billion 2025 budget. Oshun adds 37 billion to estimates. That's the writer there. Nigeria nominates Olufemi Elias as World Court Judge. Nigeria nominates Olufemi Elias as World Court Judge. Find that on news page 28 of today's issue of the Nation newspaper. Olatunji Dare pays tribute to Samuel Olowosulu, 1941 to 2024. Petrol pump price slashed below 1,000 naira at filling stations. Labour and indeed Nigerians are asking for further reduction in the pump price of petrol. At the front of the paper today, the Nation newspaper, how CBN is stabilizing the naira, reading up on page 4. Arsonists set fire to Monarch's palace. You have those details on page 6. Alright, so that's the much we have from the Nation newspaper. Next, we're going to look at the Daily Independent newspaper for you. Let's begin with the one above the nameplate of the Daily Independent newspaper. Says Yuletide soaring fare may mar festivities as Nigerians lament. NNPCL cuts petrol price to 925 naira per litre in Lagos, 965 naira per litre in Abuja. Alright, MRS slashes petrol price to 935 naira per litre nationwide. Despite resistance, Tinubu says tax reforms have come to stay. That's a big story. Despite resistance, Tinubu says tax reforms have come to stay. What's the headline? What's the writer there? It says declares no plans to cut down on his cabinet. Yes, the president was pointedly asked if there's any possibility he would reduce the size of his cabinet, and his answer was in the negative. Alright, so let's look at the left corner on the front page of the Daily Independent. Crashed police helicopter operated with expired permits. NSIB. Nigeria recorded 1,154 Lassa fever cases, 190 deaths this year. That's according to the NCDC. Stampedes is callous to politicize strategies, APC tells PDP. IGP didn't tell Nigerians to attack officers on stop and search, that's police. Film 3 creates 7 new emirates in Adamawa. CBN directive boosts over the counter ATM cash disbursements. CBN directive boosts over the counter ATM cash disbursements. And lastly, on the fruits of the Daily Independent newspaper today, 742 terrorists convicted since 2017. That's the federal government there. 742 terrorists convicted since 2017. All right, those are the headlines from the Daily Independent today. Let's see what more we have for you beyond the Daily Independent, and that will be the News Direct newspaper. Let's see the News Direct quickly. All right, on the News Direct, it says Yuletide, Lagos Osun Kaduna traders decry low patronage as prices of food skyrocket. Nigerians react. What's the rider? It says a day to Christmas, residents seek alternatives as food, chicken prices surge. LG targets hybrid seed production, FX stability to reduce food prices in 2025. Nigeria will attract foreign investors with new economic incentives, Tinubu. And then 3 riders with that headline there. Says no regrets whatsoever in removing subsidy, hails Nigerians, says patience towards economic hardship won't be taken for granted. Eyes global partnerships, local investments to boost food security, economic growth. Last man unveils whistle app to tackle Lagos traffic chaos. Obey court order to pay 18,000 naira minimum wage Osun pensioners, urge Adeleke. Obey court order to pay 18,000 naira minimum wage Osun pensioners, urge Adeleke. And then that will be all from the News Direct newspaper this morning, but we have a few more others for you, but this time we turn our attention to, let's see, that will be all for the papers actually this morning, but we do urge you as always to take a look at the papers for yourself, read up details from across national dailies. That way you're able to avoid fake news, misinformation, disinformation, and then stay on top of your game. As always, we are just to bring you the headlines here and guide you through what the headlines are saying across the papers. We have no opinions as Global Television. Just to let you know that we're taking a quick break, everyone. We'll return shortly, and after that, other parts, aspects of the program will come your way. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper review, latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
This Yuletide, this particular Christmas festivity is a test of the resilience and tenacity of Nigerians. And as is always the case, our citizens have not let their guard down. The hardship, the challenges, all of the obstacles that one respect naturally will impede, as it were, the enjoyment of this season. Haven't been able to do that just quite all right. We are hearing, for example, that fares have surged by as high as 30% on many routes across this country. Yet you see Nigerians traveling. Of course, many persons will say, well, there are people who are not able to travel because of economic hardship. But look at the numbers. People are traveling. All right, look at people who are thinking family and still investing money in gifts and in food items, regardless of how much inflation has dealt a very dangerous blow to food prices this time. It just shows that Nigerians will always raise their heads above the waters. All right, Nigerians will always win against all odds. However, it doesn't take away the fact that government needs to do its part and ensure that going forward, 2025 does not become same experience for citizens as they're saying in this year that is just days away from coming to an end. We'll take a quick break now. Next will be the Global AI News. Stay with us. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper review, latest news with experts on key global issues,
and at the same time keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper review, latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Global AM News here on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Uyi Agmofwebe. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nightcomsat. Imo State's Governor Hope Uzodinma has presented the 2025 appropriation bill of 755 billion naira to the State House of Assembly. Tagged budget of expanded economic opportunities, Uzodinma says the proposed budget aligns with his administration's 3R mantra of rehabilitation, reconstruction, and recovery. Imo State correspondent Amarachi Ibe has details.
Making the presentation, Governor Hope Uzodinma outlined its breakdown to include a capital expenditure of 643 billion naira, demonstrating a strong focus on development projects and a recurrent expenditure of 112 billion naira. The governor told lawmakers that the budget is tailored towards achieving sustainable development and delivering impactful services to the people of Imo State.
The last 5 years, my administration has worked relentlessly to ensure that the living conditions of our people have continued to improve.
Governor Hope Uzodinma assured the Assembly that strategic measures has been instituted to ensure effective execution of key projects and proper coordination of development initiatives.
I was mindful of the presumption that since I would not be seeking or asking for re-election again, the pace of development might slow down. But mine is different. I will continue to diligently fulfill my duties until my last day in office.
Reflecting his administration vision for growth, with priority given to the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure, which sought the budget allocation, showcasing government's commitment to infrastructural development.
We have continued with our road revolution unabated. Many more roads are primed to be commissioned soon. I've equally directed that henceforth all officers involved in the across-the-board promotions should pay their full salaries as promoted with this financial effect.
Speaker of Imo State House of Assembly Chike Olemgbe commended the governor's achievements and pledged the House commitment to giving the appropriation bill speedy consideration.
Your Excellency, I want to specially thank you for being the most fiscal responsible governor Imo State has ever had. It is on record that your administration was the first to engage Imo State in fiscal transparency program of World Bank State Fiscal transparency, and accountability system.
The 2025 budget sets the stage for driving economic growth and development, raising residents' optimism that the proposal will lead to tangible improvements in their living condition. From Owerri, Amarachi Ibe, reporting for Global TV News.
Thank you, Amarachi. President Bola Tinubu has officially launched the 2024 main Christian pilgrimage to Israel and Jordan. This was made known in a statement by Deputy Director and Head of Media and Public Relations, Celestine Toruka, and published on the Commission's official X handle. According to the statement, Tinubu, represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, urged pilgrims to view their journey as an opportunity to strengthen their faith in God. The federal government and the National Assembly have been urged to prioritize transparency and accountability in allocating projects in the 2025 budget. The Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, made the call in a statement signed by its Executive Director, Awal Rafsanjani. The organization specifically cautioned against budget padding and the inclusion of questionable allocations, such as funds designated for scrapped ministries like the Ministry of Niger Delta and Ministry of Sports. Rafsanjani also condemned the recurrent practice of certain legislators exploiting the budget process to allocate resources for constituency projects lacking a legal framework for monitoring and accountability. The Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, ALGON, says it is resolved to strengthen its collaboration with all tiers of government and development partners to deliver the dividends of democracy and tackle challenges affecting governance and Nigerians at the grassroots level. Our correspondent Anthony Momodu now reports.
ALGON National President Engineer Bello Lawal at the 51st National Executive Council meeting in Katsina State spoke on the burden and mandate of the local government administrators in delivering good governance.
It is my honor and privilege to host our distinguished members, that is the NEC members of this great association, and indeed our leaders, the BMT chairman and other BMT members, to our dear state for this very important national assembly of the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, ALGON. I want to take this opportunity to thank you very, very well for really.
On his part, the National Publicity Secretary of ALGON, Hamisu Mohammed, read out the communique of the meeting, commending the government and judiciary for ensuring the local government autonomy.
The judiciary was also commended for its role in establishing a viable local government system. Furthermore, the NEC appreciates the effort of state governors and the Nigerian Governors Forum, NGF, in conducting elections across local government areas, with over 30 states now having democratically elected chairmen.
Other members and stakeholders expressed confidence of a better future for Nigerians at the local government levels. Anthony Momodu reporting for Global Television News.
Anthony, thank you for your report. And let's turn to Edo State now, where the State Council of the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, has denied the claim by its National Secretariat that Edo State government forcefully broke into and ransacked its Labour House in Benin City. In a statement made and signed by the Acting State Chairman, Bernard Egwekide, and the Acting State Secretary, Kingsley Iroitoy, the State Council described the allegations as false, misleading and baseless, clarifying that at no point were police officers used to force entry into its Labour House. The Corps Marshal, Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, Shehu Mohammed, has pledged to restore public trust in the Corps. Mohammed made the pledge in Akure, Ondo State capital, while acknowledging that motorists no longer stop for FRSC personnel due to perceived lack of integrity. He emphasized the importance of upholding the legacy of selfless service, integrity, loyalty, and service delivery bequeathed by the founding fathers of the Corps, noting that the Corps has a noble mandate to protect, reduce, and minimize road safety crisis, as well as create a safe and secure motoring environment for the public. Minister of Police Affairs Senator Ibrahim Gaidam has listed the ministry's accomplishments for the first 3 quarters of 2024, which he says are reflected in the establishment of the National Criminal Data Fusion Center for the Nigeria Police Force, strengthening the West African Police Information System, and automation of police specialized services to enhance Nigeria's security. He stated this during the recent visit of the Special Advisor to the President on Policy Coordination and Head Central Results Delivery Coordination Units, Hadiza Bala Usman, who represented the ministry's performance scorecard in delivering on assigned mandates in the last 3 quarters of 2024. The federal government has successfully repatriated 403 Nigerian migrants stranded in Niger Republic. National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons made this known, stating that the returnees, including 165 males, 56 females, and 182 children and infants, arrived on Saturday. The return was facilitated through a coordinated multi-agency effort involving the Nigerian Mission in Niamey and the International Organization for Migration, IOM. This operation, says, marks the second batch of voluntary returns from Niger Republic within the week, following the repatriation of 310 individuals on December 17, 2024. In total, 713 Nigerians have been returned to the country in the past week. Some suspected hoodlums have allegedly attacked the palace of Esso Lokoja, Emmanuel Akamisoko Dauda Shalika in Lokoja, the state capital, burning his vehicle and property within the premises, while the monarch narrowly escaped by scaling the fence. According to reports, Nupe natives of Lokoja Development Union were planning to host the second edition of Nupe Natives and end-of-year event before the incident occurred. Dauda Shalika appealed to the government and security agencies to investigate the cause of the attack and bring the perpetrators and their sponsors to justice. He, however, appealed to the Nupe natives in Lokoja to avoid any form of reprisal, but continue to remain peaceful and law-abiding and allow government and security agencies to conduct thorough investigations on the attack. The federal government has officially announced Wednesday 25th and Thursday 26th December 2024 and Wednesday 1st of January 2025 as public holidays to celebrate Christmas, Boxing Day, and New Year respectively. Minister of Interior Olumbumi Tunji-Ojo confirmed this in a statement in Abuja by the ministry's permanent secretary Magdalene Ajani. The minister also extended warm greetings to all Nigerians and urged them to reflect on the values of love, peace, and unity that the season signifies as they celebrate with their loved ones. He stressed that the essence of the Yuletide season is to foster harmony and strengthen bonds across families and communities. Following deaths recorded during palliative distribution in Abuja, Ibadan, and Anambra last week, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Netawe Yitwada, has listed rules and regulations event organizers must adhere to before engaging in the distribution of palliative in the country. Yitwada said it is important that organizers register such events, involve security operatives like the police, and carry out a risk assessment and vulnerability checks, among others, to avoid future stampedes and deaths. He expressed sympathy with the families of the victims, but stressed, however, that the presence of security operatives at distribution points will go a long way in helping to maintain peace and order once vulnerability checks and risk assessments are observed. The National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, has advised Nigerians to beware of individuals or entities demanding money from them for the National Identification Number, NIN registration. This comes as many Nigerians have decried extortion at various NIMC centers nationwide for their NIN registration. Amid these reports, the NIMC, in a statement signed by Head of Corporate Communications, Dr. Kayode Adegoke, insisted that the National Identification Number registration comes at no cost. Adegoke noted that the amounts charged for NIN enrollments at NIMC centers are unauthorized. The chairman of the Nigeria-Belgium Friendship Parliamentary Group, Ahmed Adamu Samba, has announced a renewed commitment to strengthening ties between Nigeria and Belgium through a series of forward-thinking initiatives. This is contained in a statement signed by the technical advisor to the chairman, Lugard Okonobo, stating that the initiatives are part of strategic efforts to enhance cooperation in trade, education, agriculture, and cultural exchange. The statement outlines the group's work plan and initiative for 2025, which emphasizes fostering mutual understanding and practical collaboration. Some of these plans include the Nigeria-Belgium-Luxembourg Business Forum, slated for the second quarter of 2025, as well as the Nigeria-Belgium Academic Exchange Program, the Nigeria Arts and Culture Festival, scheduled for August 2025. You're watching the live broadcast of the Global AM News here on Global Television, coming to you from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. When the rest of the news returns, stockbrokers propose roadmap for Nigeria's $1 trillion economy. Those details, as well as foreign and sports stories, coming shortly. Please don't go away. Thank you so very much, everyone, for staying with us here on the Global AM News. Let's turn to business. The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, has urged Nigerians to avoid panic buying as there is enough fuel in the country. IPMAN Publicity Secretary Okadike Chinedu said this in Abuja while commending Dangote Petroleum Refinery for reducing the price of its petroleum motor spirits, also known as petrol, to 899 naira 50 kobo per litre. He says the gesture would help reduce transport costs for Nigerians ahead of Yuletide holidays. Chinedu, however, urged all IPMAN members to adjust their pump to the new pump price to attract more customers. The retail price of premium motor spirit, popularly known as petrol, has dropped to 965 naira per litre in the Federal Capital Territory. According to reports, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, effected the new price across its retail outlets in the capital city to the delight of customers. The new amount is the second price drop in less than 2 weeks from 1,060 naira earlier this month. Meanwhile, the Nigeria Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG, has called on the federal government to intensify its fight against oil thefts. The union's president, Prince Williams Akboreha, speaking at the last quarter meeting of the petroleum tanker drivers in Edo State, expressed concerns over an apparent slowdown in efforts to curb pipeline vandalism and oil theft. NUPENG criticized the government's exclusion of oil workers from the compressed natural gas CNG program, stressing that it is disheartening that the federal government is reducing the tempo against pipeline vandals and oil theft at a time when the fight should be intensified. Nigerian stockbrokers have proposed strategies by which the federal government can deepen the capital market to achieve its proposed $1 trillion economy. They made the proposal in a communique signed by the President and Chairman of Council of Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, Oluwokmo Dada, and the Registrar and Chief Executive of CIS, Dr. Josiah Akarawushi, from the 28th Annual Conference of the Institute held in Ibadan, Oyo State Capital. Dada says if adhered to, the proposed strategies would help the government in achieving its goal without increasing borrowing. On the foreign scene, Slovakia's Prime Minister Roberto Fico has made a surprise visit to Moscow for talks with Vladimir Putin, becoming only the third Western leader to meet the Russian leader since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine 3 years ago. Fico, a vocal critic of the European Union's support for Kiev in the war, said they discussed supplies of Russian gas to Slovakia, which his country relies on. A deal with Russian gas giant Gazprom to transit energy through Ukraine to Slovakia is due to expire at the end of this year. Asian markets rose after big gains on Wall Street on Monday, with traders welcoming below forecast U.S. inflation data that tempered worries that the Federal Reserve will take a more hawkish tone with interest rates next year. A holiday-themed week got off to a healthy start after last week's sell-off sparked by the U.S. Central Bank's outlook that suggested officials will not lower borrowing costs as much as previously hoped over the next 12 months. All three main indexes in New York ended more than 1% higher. U.S. President Joe Biden has commuted the sentences of 37 out of 40 federal death row inmates, switching their penalty to life in prison without parole. The three excluded from the measure include the Boston Marathon bomber, the man who killed Jewish worshippers in 2018. In a statement, Biden said he was more convinced than ever that his administration must stop the use of the death penalty at the federal level, although his measure does not include more than 2,000 people convicted to death by state authorities. Biden's decision comes before the return of President-elect Donald Trump in January, who resumed federal executions while in office. And now time to open up the world of sports for you, full of excitement. The National Sports Commission, NSC, has resolved to put in place aggressive grassroots talent hunt and nurture talents that will win laurels for the country at the Los Angeles 2028 Olympics, also called LA 2028, without being pushed by the opportunistic Western world. NCS Chairman Shehu Diko made the disclosure while hosting a 14-year-old serial winning gymnast, Stephanie Ogechukwu Onu-Siriuka, and her mother in his office, noting that the era of losing Nigeria's best sporting talents to other countries is over as the commission has moved to tie the young gymnast down. Onu-Siriuka has been labeled Nigeria's Simone Biles, drawing marked global acclaim. She trains at the Leeds Gymnastics and is a member of the UK Gymnastics Club. Quite a dazzling promise there. Africa Cup of Nations host Morocco title holders. The Ivory Coast and the Super Eagles of Nigeria are likely to be among the top seeds when the draw for the 2025 tournament is made in Rabat on January 27. A Confederation of Africa Cup officials, speaking on condition of anonymity, says the latest World Bank rankings would almost certainly determine the seeds. CAF have used the FIFA rankings to seed nations for AFCON and World Cup draws and are likely to use the December 2024 listings, as the next rankings will only be published on April 3rd. The 24 participants will be divided into 6 4-team groups with winners and runners-up from each, plus the best 4 third-place sides qualifying for the knockout phase. Still talking football, Crystal Palace have triggered the option in João Felipe Mateta's contract to extend his stay at the club until 2027. The Frenchman would have entered the last 18 months of his deal at the turn of the year, with his current contract expiring in June 2026. But sources with knowledge of the deal say Palace have used the option to keep him tied to Selhurst Park for another 2.5 years. The club are yet to officially confirm the news, but Mateta and the Eagles have been in talks about a new contract in recent months amid his goal-scoring form. Saka was filmed leaving Selhurst Park on crutches, soaring what had been a comprehensive second win over the Eagles in 4 days. Arteta says after the match, Saka felt something in his hamstring and could not continue. He further revealed that Raheem Sterling had injured his knee and would be out of action for many weeks. Mohamed Salah has surged to the top of the Premier League Golden Boot charts thanks to a double for Liverpool in a 6-3 rout of Tottenham Hotspur at the weekend. The Egypt captain struck twice in the second half for the leaders to raise his goal tally for the season to 15, two more than Erling Haaland of Manchester City. And now, as we end the Global AM News, a quick look at some of our top stories. Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma has presented the 2025 appropriation bill of 755 billion to the State House of Assembly. And in business, we told you stockbrokers have proposed strategies by which the federal government can deepen the capital market to achieve its proposed $1 trillion economy. And that's all we have for you here on the Global AM News. Thank you everyone for watching. The rest of the Global Morning with yours sincerely returns shortly. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper review, latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper review, latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper review, latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
All right, let's put our discussion on the road. Everyone's been a long morning already, but then it is what it is. We have to put those conversations in front of you. 2024 has been a very demanding and challenging period for many people. Some would say the experience has been nothing short of excruciating, especially on the economic front. Yes, this was not the year that fuel subsidy was removed, but the ripple impact of it from 2023, when that announcement was made, life has not been same for most Nigerians, especially with regards to socio-economic activity. It's utile, for example. Many people have said they can't even afford to buy chicken that they normally would take for granted before now. Let's not talk about rice. Some persons have said, well, enough of talk about rice. After all, rice is not the only food that is consumed in this country. But does it take away the fact that most people still tell you they now purchase a bag of rice for between 90 and 100,000 naira? You turn to transportation, for example. What are the fares saying? It will appear the last 3 weeks, for example, fares have been surging on practically a daily basis. Now, for many people, on the one hand, it is enough to be grateful for the life they have, to be thankful that at least this year, as interesting and as some people will say, what a year, is coming to a close. On the other hand, they're also concerned, what does 2025 hold, given what they've seen these last 12 months? We want to look at the highlights from this year. What have been the big events that shaped Nigeria in 2024? Beyond the noise and all of the political gimmicks that we've seen across party lines and political divide. I'm joined this morning by public policy analyst and someone who has a handle on legislative matters, Chibuzo Okereke, to help us find sense in all of these events. Thank you so very much for coming.
Thank you. Good morning for having me.
It's been a while. I think it's a good way to start wrapping up the year, having you in the studio this morning. But let's begin with some of the big events from the year. Many persons have thought after subsidy payments on petrol was removed last year, it will end with 2023. 2024 will, become a new phase. They will have a new lease of life, be able to breathe, to use the word of the president. But has it been a breathing space? Has there been a breathing space for Nigerians? And how much of space have you had to do that breathing?
Absolutely not. Like you rightly pointed out, many Nigerians are complaining. The economic hardship in the country is lived reality of most Nigerians. Our own agency of government responsible for data management told us we had over 133 million multidimensionally poor Nigerians. There are predictions of food insecurity affecting and malnutrition expected to affect over 46% of Nigerians, and so on. So there has not been any form of breathing space. And you see, the challenge is also how we govern and how we manage governance process. As citizens, especially in an election year like we had in 2023, would always have great expectations that whatever challenges they faced with previous administration will not be there. And indeed, the design of democracy gives citizens that opportunity to be able to make a determination whether to continue to retain a particular government team in office or jettison them for a new one they believe will make their lives, better. The government has said this is necessary. I mean, the president said that much yesterday during the media chat that we were paying our future generation and our future, we are eating it today by spending over 95% of our revenue on debt servicing and subsidy, payment, and that it was necessary, to do that. But you see, in a capitalist economy, this is what you see, the survival of the fittest. What has been the problem in Nigeria is the weakness of the state to bring the balance of what the capitalist is known for. Because in capitalism, it's a free market system, forces of demand and supply, but there is a reason we have a state with regulatory powers, with social intervention policies to be able to address the imbalance or what we call the evil of capitalism. So the weakness of the state is the reason the excruciating pain and hardship have been much, because there is nothing, just like we said, we are telling people. And that's why high literacy is important to navigate capitalism and indeed any nation. Education itself is an important development tool. If you have it at a high level, people can understand policies, procedure, and how market reacts better. When people were predicting, Dangote is a private sector driven person, when his refinery comes on stream, that there will be magic in the fuel, in the petroleum industry. Has it happened? Because it has cost of production that cannot be regulated by government, except government chooses to intervene by giving him some sort of waivers, tax incentives to be able to address cost of production. If not, he cannot produce maybe a liter at 900 naira and say he loves Nigeria so much, he will sell it at 800. It's not possible. Another issue is that you don't even have the process of determining what is actually his cost of production. And indeed, in a private sector driven economy, that even wouldn't be your business. You just believe in fidelity, and then government agencies responsible for regulation checking them. But people were told, just wait, Dangote refinery is coming on stream. Just wait, because it assumed that if the crude is given to him locally and then he produces it, to remove all the costs we are told through the importation that is affecting them. But you can see that didn't change anything significant. Even when Dangote says, I have removed this discount, you still have to wait for the marketers to apply the same before the consumers can benefit from it. So even the president and everyone in Nigeria acknowledges that there has not been any breathing space for Nigerians. And President said, let the poor breathe. It is now the mechanism to achieve opportunity for the poor to breathe in Nigeria is what we expect these economic reforms to yield. But how long, we have not been able to put timeline to it because of other variables and exigencies that may occur.
You already made reference. The president said some of the highlights from the media chat he had just last night when he spent some time with journalists to discuss the state of the nation, how far we've come in 2024, and many people have said, look, that conversation couldn't have come at a better time, given that the year is coming to an end and all of that. I want to turn our attention to the tax reforms bills now in front of the National Assembly. We understand they've passed second reading. President says he's not going back on them, that in fact these reforms are long overdue. Some people say this is obstinacy and ego on the part of President Bola Tinubu. Others say no way, that the president is only showing strength of leadership by doing this. What's your position on this?
Well, what I think is that reforms is the reason you have government in place. But what kind of reform and what process of reform are what people will interrogate. Actually, in the National Assembly, the bill had only passed second reading in the Senate. And by rules of procedure, it needs to pass second reading also in the House of Rep before it's transmitted to committees to conduct public hearing and what have you. And that is the...
So we have a long way to go.
We have a long way to go, and that is the standard procedure for enacting any law in the National Assembly. So it's within the right of the president to introduce the reform through legislation. Assuming he used the executive order to proclaim those reforms, then we have a problem. So he has articulated the reform. We have elected representative of the people in the National Assembly. He has followed constitutional procedure to transmit his executive bill. It is now left for those representing the people. There is a reason the legislature is the fulcrum of democracy. It's called the representatives. That's what they are called, which means they bring a balance by articulation and aggregation what reflects the will of the people and aspirations of the people into their practice and procedure. So if president as an executive president thinks, oh, this is where I want to go, fine. He's within his right. That's why he was elected. The representative of the people are now to interrogate clause by clause, cross-referencing, dotting the I's and the T's within that law to say what implication will this law have on ABCD sectors of the economy. And I tell Nigerians that is the argument, a healthy argument we must allow to flow. Now, if people highlight certain provisions of that law that they think is not okay, it is also within their right to tell their representatives clause this, clause that should be completely deleted or rephrased. And so that is what is, law making. So, and in terms of policy design, I also think that a lot of things need to be looked at in that legislation. For instance, there are institutional issues, there are constitutional issues, that should you amend a law, or should you propose a law changing the tax form of local government without going to Schedule 4 of the Constitution, and then amend the forms of taxes prescribed for local government to collect. So you need to do that constitutional amendment. If not, there will be two forms of taxes existing for local government to also, collect. And then we must always talk about economy and efficiency of our laws. And then ability to operationalize it. Because you see, political feasibility in policies is one end, where you can use political power, negotiation, and agree to achieve something. We have done it in the past. And that is why they are facing challenges today with the ability to collect most of those taxes. Outside the issue of fidelity and trust from the people to government, that they are not getting what they are supposed to get, that government is not behaving well, government is flamboyant while the people continue to wallow in poverty. So there is almost near zero willingness by Nigerians to pay income tax, apart from those that are in the public service where they take it from source. So you have not modeled tax system well. If only those paying are the people you can take it from by force. And on the issue of accountability and transparency, there are many forms of taxes and levies. Make no mistake, it's not just statutory taxes of VAT, company income tax, education tax, personal income tax, stamp duty, and what have you. People register their cars every year. It's a form of tax. People do driver's license at interval, 4 years, 5 years. There are many other things people do. So those things must be adequately accounted for with evidence that this is what we have generated. And then cost of revenue must also be looked at with the efficiency scale. How much are we deploying to get what? People must know. So if you say you have made 9 trillion, it's not enough to make that the news headline. What did it cost us to make the 9 trillion? Is it profitable? Is it equitable? Is it efficient? Is it economically wise? So that is how you address leakages and loopholes. So for me, the president, even before coming on board, mentioned everybody in Nigeria knows that our tax system is weak, and even the political system and the so-called rich people in Nigeria use the positions they have to make sure that certain taxes that are due to the country are not done, including import duties and what have you. They know how they will have access, get a waiver. They know how to coin the whole thing, and it will be for the categories that qualify for waiver. And when those items come into the country, it's obvious these are commercial things that shouldn't have a waiver. And that is where the political will is. Yes, I have concerns with some of the provisions in the tax bill, especially some of the institutions that are being created. Some of them look as if you are trying to federalize. You have seen the weaknesses of the state. They are not able to collect these taxes. And we are going digital. If you look at the laws, we are going digital system, ability to share information between states and the federal government. But these states you are talking about, no, I don't think there is any state in Nigeria that have keyed into Remita. We have been doing since 2011 or 2013. Why are they not interested in, doing their own revenue transaction on the scale and digital platform? The other day, NFI took state to court over the threshold of cash they are withdrawing from commercial banks, and they are even responding to these cases, saying they are at liberty to use their money the way they like. So these are the things we should. Are we ready? Federal government may have that infrastructure. State governments may not have the digital infrastructure. At the end of the day, we have succeeded in empowering the federal government and weakening, the state. So we must look at a balance. And then the propositions to take away certain form of taxes from certain agencies, you have to also look at how accountable and transparent has the FRS been before you empower them with the ability to do more. And also look at operational efficiency and feasibility. If you say that FRS will now be in the customs, in the borders, are you sure by virtue of power interplay and rivalry it will be successful over time? It may be successful for a while, but because it's not except anyway, the implementation is sophisticated and integrated in a manner. We will not have one government agency getting angry and undermining the system, because our agencies are not built in institutional thinking. It is built around personality traits. So whoever is the head of the agency practically shapes the culture and behavior and the professionalism of that agency. We have seen this time and time again.
I need to talk to you about something else. Still with regards to these proposed, reforms with regards to the taxes. The VAT, why is VAT so much of, there's so much of noise around VAT. 19 state governors, for example, all across the north, they have a problem with it. And there's something about numbers. If one governor from the north had a problem with it, you can say, well, it's a personal issue. But you have 19 state governors railing against certain elements in this proposal. Does that not show that there's something fundamentally wrong?
No, that somebody disagrees with something does not mean that something is fundamentally wrong objectively. Something can be fundamentally wrong for self-actualization. That the structure, the way the VAT is being administered before, right? Using population and the sharing formulas they had, and they're introducing derivation now and what have you. And some people will do the computation and say, before now, remember that former Governor Wike went to court because the VAT is not in the constitution. So he went to court to challenge the federal government collecting the VAT, and he had evidence that himself in the state, or the River State government at the time, contributed to the national purse a certain volume of money in VAT collection. And this is what they received back, that it doesn't make any sense. I remember that at the National Assembly, the Speaker quickly rushed to propose a constitutional amendment so that VAT will go to exclusive list, and then it didn't work. And the matter is still, in court. And even people, governor from the north that time, called him out and said, try to be your brother's keeper, because they have seen what he is talking about. So some of these arrangements we make it for equity. Because if we go by equality, many states will suffer. So right now they are trying to, find a balance that can make people more competitive, states to be more competitive and more productive, so that they can earn more. But there's something I have discovered. most of the money used by state government are federally allocated revenue, shared revenue. They use those revenue plus loan to do award contract for capital projects. For every capital project implemented, we have 3 levels of project we do. We have goods, which are supplies, we have works, which is construction and capital, we have consultancy, trainings and what have you. Each of these have component of that. Now, if a state government, that's why I say we must also rethink this and recategorize, because if a state government has gotten federally shared revenue, which VAT contributed the previous period, is part of what has been accumulated and shared. I will use that VAT I got, plus loan, plus allocation from oil and coal to award a contract and charge VAT on it, and still send the component of that VAT back to federal government. It doesn't make sense. So we can say services, IGR and all that component of VAT there can go, because this distribution does not make any sense. If I take loan and I work contract for it, I will charge VAT on it, and you're not going to join me in paying back that loan. Cost of fund for the loan, servicing the loan, and the capital. Most states in Nigeria will join you to pay back your loan. You're going to carry it. And the VAT component deducted from it is sent for us to share. So we need to, then the issue of transitioning VAT by increase in the next 2, 3, 4 years to 15%, saying, when you compare with other countries, Ghana is 17%, and we have to also look at that transition. We need a battle between 5% to 7.5%, because the issue is implementation, operational feasibility. I keep saying it. We also talk about incentive from companies and organizations helping government to receive VAT. Implementation is also another thing. We have seen how withholding tax are administered. Withholding tax is a tax credit for whoever has it. And at the point you're paying your tax, you're supposed to. But you discover that most deductions of withholding tax are not even reconciled at the time you are processing to pay your tax. So these are the infrastructure and administrative issues that must be addressed. Making law that is lofty is not, and aspirational is not bad. But law has value by the way it's administered and implemented to produce the desired result. That must be the end goal. We can make a law that seeks to capture a few people. Even right now, there is supposed to be integration of what goes on in the bank with personal income tax. Personal income tax has been the weakest. You saw a former minister that declared 1 million annually, and they were asking her question as to, your car is also a man. How come? He said, I'm into different type of things I do to support community. So you can see the understanding of how do we administer personal income tax effective. And when you do, remember the people will revote. If they see that money has only succeeded in sending your children abroad, changing the car you drive and the aircraft you use as a public officer, because all those things are privileges of office that we cannot do anything about.
Right. Let's talk about, just before we take a break now, right? Yeah. You've talked about the issue of VAT and the increase and operationalizing this whole process.
Yeah, because when you do that, and they said, 82% of the VAT sources of VAT consumables has been taken away. The people will not pay VAT on those things. Are you going to be there? You are in a country where just a speculation, fake news that fuel will be scarce next week. They will be killed today, and the fuel station will automatically increase their price just because of that fake news. When you say you have removed those things, are you going to be on ground to make sure citizens are not subject to pay them again? How much education will go into it? 70% of us live in the rural area, and those people are exploited daily. So how do we implement it? Are we just going to do it? It will be existing. What infrastructure will be in place to make sure that that burden that should have come to the ordinary Nigeria will not happen, because our exploitative system has not diminished in any way. If anything, whatever time there is hardship, it increases.
Interesting. But let's talk about quickly now the issue around. Of course, I know you've also followed Taiwo Oyedele, the chairman of the committee.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he has continually made a case for how that there's nothing wrong with the way we are going with our taxation and how we do taxing and all of that. But I've spoken to brilliant analysts like yourself, and they all say, look, this is the handiwork of the IMF. When Cardoso, the current CBN governor, was being, as it were, interacted with by the Senate the other time, just before it became it was confirmed by the Senate, and then of course, assumed office and all of that. Senator Oshomole did ask him a question. He said, how would you handle pressure from the multilateral institutions, the World Banks, the IMFs and all of that? And he said, look, I'm also using this medium to advise President Bola Tinubu about the influences that come from the IMF and the World Bank. Can we blame all of these policy direction on the IMF?
We're a sovereign nation. Even though in reality, Nigeria does not have what it takes today to stay away from IMF, Bretton Woods, and all these people. It's not possible. They are, connected with our entire system. The entire CBN infrastructure is based on set-up infrastructure and operational activities. It's based on the trainings they gave us, the templates they gave us, everything. And they have continued with continuous education and professional training, introduction of new technology. The one they are doing in states now, accountability and transparency, something about their finances. It's they are not doing it because the Constitution said so. It's because the IMF said so, and there is incentive in case if you want to access loan and what have you. So you can see our own personal behavior is not even geared towards doing what our law says, but because of something we will get from. So I can't blame IMF because it is the Nigerian state that allowed whatever influence or whatever positive or negative influence IMF has to fester. So the president is the one that has been elected, and he has that responsibility to administer the state and pursue policy. But in reality, let us be sincere, is our tax system okay? The answer is no. Our tax performance is very, very poor and very low. But people have said it is because the politicians don't appear to be working for the people. Because you see, in this whole thing, trust is very key. If you're managing the affairs of people and they trust you, they will put their money there. And that is why we have been calling for a development planning that is grass-rooted, such that Nigeria will get a mapping, especially in capital project development, infrastructure development, that is consistent. It's not somebody coming. In infrastructure, is not what you come as a president, you start thinking your own. There must be a pattern where we want to go in the next 30, 50 years. And there is a series of infrastructure we are to develop, both at the rural level. And that's why I like what the president said yesterday about the local government system. And indeed, part of that interview, not everything, you can see measures thinking from the president, that the need for rural development, and he was aiming at local governments being equipped to perform. And if we achieve that, because for Christ's sake, what type of development we are talking about in Nigeria that excludes the local government, where the majority of the people lives? So the president clearly understands, like he said, that it is educated and the bureaucrats that are with him in Abuja that the people they are meant to serve are actually in the rural area. And we made an example about when he was governor, how he created development centers that caused problems between him and President Obasanjo. Yeah, the local government development center. So you can see measures thinking that there is need to connect development to the people. But we must not leave it at discretion. We must do infrastructure development planning that maps everywhere in Nigeria. And there must be, when we have National Economic Council, for Christ's sake, I don't know what they discussed there, but because we're a federal system,
discussing state police now.
because we're a federal system, and I'll come to the show state police. A federal system, it's assumed that the state are disconnected. They're on their own. They have capacity to develop and administer. The same thing at the local government level. So all these platforms were now created for them to interact. If you don't have integrated development model, how can federal government be running Nigeria? We're in Nigeria. And we have done the mapping and said, oh, you're in charge of federal road, trunk A road, part of trunk B states, you're in charge of trunk C and D. How many states has a dashboard that is showing all the roads in their state across all the local government, across all the communities, both the one that is tarred and not tarred? Those data, do we have it to say, oh, every year government people come and tell you, we have done 2,000 kilometers, we have done 10,000 kilometers. That is not the issue. 10,000 kilometers out of what? Is the real question, so that you know where we are going and what is the quality of what we are doing. Are we settling political supporters and friends with the critical infrastructure? How do you feel? You are a governor, you are a president, you are finished building this road, and then next year another person enter, you will start building that road again because it has gotten bad. It doesn't make sense. So I'm linking this to the issue of tax administration. There is no type of law you make. Even if you make a law that can go to people's account and collect tax, before you know it, the bankers will develop a technology to build confidence back in their customer. Because there will be a ripple effect of people avoiding the bank. When we are trying to get our cash flow into the bank, if you go there and force them, they will start finding alternative means. And today, digital currency is almost becoming the order of the day. So we must articulate this policy. Maybe there is an interplay, they are related, and they can create other problems depending on how we choose to implement. But trust is very key, and accountability and transparency is very important. People can't be in a country where no matter how brilliant you are, you cannot work in certain places. Because some people by political privilege have reserved that place even for people who graduate in 2-3 years that are still abroad. And my father is contributing tax, but I cannot work in where I will join to admit. So the Nigerian state must be a competitive state where everything is open for the best of us to compete and enter it of merit. Once you don't address that, any law you like make about tax reform, it will not work, because the root cause of the issue has not been addressed. We are not a competitive state where people can freely aspire. It's only in politics, but in job, people don't believe in this. I don't see how people are living in jobs, because they believe if they go there and compete, they will have favorable assessment that is equitable, objective, and fair. And they can have opportunity to do this thing. In Nigeria, if you do that, if you go to anywhere to compete, you first of all start looking for who you know in that place. That is the natural thinking. If we remove that, and we know that people can aspire to become anything, and there is a competitive state, if there is 10 slots for a job, that 10 slot is advertised, and people will come and compete to get that job, whether it's in government agency or anywhere. And if they get it, they go in and serve. If it's in the military, the same thing. Because if you don't do that, how are you going to have military, police, and all the defense agency of patriotism? Patriotism is not the oath you took. It is who you are and your behavior. And the recruitment process impacts on what happens. There are no stories of people who are given appointment letter for free and they even looked at it and returned it and they don't like it. Meanwhile, other people are just looking for a little opportunity.
All right. I think we are discussing the Nigerian dream already, right? But let's take a quick break, everyone. When we return shortly, we turn our attention to one of the achievements of President Bola Tinubu, in the manner of speaking, which some people now say it's landmark, given how long this issue has lingered for. All of that shortly. Do stay with us. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper review, latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
There is the thinking that if we want to be fair to President Bola Tinubu and his administration, we must give him credit for what we have been able to accomplish with the local government autonomy. Do you share that sentiment?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, he has that passion and commitment, and that is one good thing we have seen about this president. He's even aware of government policies he's administering, because in the past it was a very big challenge to connect the president's speeches and thinking with the policies we had in the last administration. But right now he speaks to the policy and he's passionate about local government. It's all happened in Edo State, and but the truth is that we don't have local government autonomy yet.
So what do we have?
Well, because for us to have local government autonomy, a number of things need to happen constitutionally. And that is why I think that the president need to, you see, the governors must also be patriotic to this country. As far as Nigeria is concerned, you cannot stay in power more than 8 years. So, what is that thing you're protecting? We have seen people die in office, president die in office. We have seen, all kinds of things happen. Is it because of 8 years to control your state is the reason you don't believe that the local government should be liberalized? It doesn't make any sense. If the federal government treats the states the way they are treating local government, we will have problem in Nigeria. And that's why people like us have said, let us have a conversation. Do we want two-tier of government? So that the state are responsible for the local government, they can create any number they want. Because Nigeria keep dreaming about the US and Australia and India and other places where we have federal and local government system, how it's working there. You need to come and look at your law. It is your own law you gave to yourself you will use to judge, not America or India. So it's Section 7 of our Constitution that created the local government caused problem for us. Because you don't give birth to a child and throw the child away and come and be crying, what happened to my child? He said the system, the local government system shall be by democratically elected people and is guaranteed by the constitution. But who has that responsibility to guarantee what you have guaranteed? You ceded it to the state assembly and said accordingly the state assembly shall make law for the structure, administration, finances, and how the local government will be administered. Indeed, even the creation of the local government in Section 8 is still a problem, because right now, due to Section 162 and other provisions regarding revenue for local government, you can't create a local government in the state. You have to wait for federal government through the National Assembly to recognize it and list it in the Constitution because of the revenue component of it. So this is absolute confusion, and it requires leaders to come to the room and say, okay, this is what, for instance, Section 1625, have we eliminated it, that a constitution created joint accounts and ordered the federal government to pay money into that joint account for anything standing in the credits for the local government. The state assemblies have made law signed by their governor that they preferred or how the local government will be administered. There is a state electoral commission conducting election for it. So that is why even when Buhari issued the executive order concerning autonomy of local government, it didn't work. Right now, this president seems to have achieved one component of it, and that is elimination of appointment of administrators. So he must get credit for it. That is a smart move. And that is why you see for the first time people were running to conduct local government elections before November in response to that Supreme Court ruling. So that one is a credit and we commend him for that. The next component is the issue of financial autonomy. That is the one that is constitutionally embedded. Another component is the structure of it, how it's administered. There are 36 state laws today. Do you know that even FCT doesn't have local government law? There is a national law. And National Assembly is the one that is to make state government administration law for FCT, and we don't have that law.
And that's an aberration already.
It's an aberration because, I mean, what is stopping the national, why are they borrowing law when they can make law and show a model of order? Because in terms of election in the local government, FCT has been a model. They have, I think, 3-year or 4-year time, and then they conduct elections by INEC. But the revenue or autonomy issue, there is still, I think, 10% of IGR of the FCT goes to local government. Now, if you have a minister who does not want to do that, what will happen? And other things. And that's why you see, if you come out on certain bus stop, you see FCT task force, you see AMAC task force. If you go to Kwali, you see task force of both FCT and because we are not doing the integrated model. We are competing to collect money. And how we are using that money, nobody. Even I heard the minister saying, let us not put this chaos in this federal capital territory. Let us use our infrastructure to collect it and give you what is due to you. I don't know how they have achieved that. So, if we don't address the constitutional impediment, the constitution, even in Schedule 4, I told you, prescribe functions. And what the rules of the local government should be, including economic planning board, collection of bicycle, which is what the private people are saying, no, we don't know what is using bicycle again. We don't know. But you cannot outlaw the governor with an act. Right. Because the governor will still be superior. So you need to check that. If you see constitutional amendment, you see where people are proposing to correct the names of their states, names of their local government in the constitution. There are these things like including the order of placement. So you need to also change the forms of taxes listed for local government, and then you are there. So we don't have that autonomy here, but we have been able to, because even now with the elections, we have not addressed the issue of tenure of local government, qualifications to become a local government chairman, to become a councillor. I train local government legislators on legislative practice and procedure, making bylaw, conducting oversights, policy oversight, audit, and representation. Our constitution has prescribed local government council as resident representatives.
Resident representatives?
90% of them don't live in where they represent. Not in Abuja. Any state you can think about. So, we have designed our constitution, we have refused to apply it. How can you be a councillor that is in Buhari and you are living in Amak, you are visiting there? Are there not people in that place? Why are you visiting them and you are there to present in one local government, the secretary of the local government is the custodian of the legislative chamber complex. And in one occasion wanted to do mock parliament sitting, so they will learn how to process it, how the presiding officer will preside, the clerks, how they take. Do you know that most of them don't even have clerk to the council? It is the executive that takes vote and proceedings for them. In fact, we are told that the woman there is not around, so there is no way the office will be open for them to sit. That is only when the secretary is around, that's when they can access their chamber and sit. Local government chairman don't consider councillors to be anything. Because they think, you see, I tell people, it's just like people calling for defund the National Assembly, defund the State Assembly, defund the... I laugh. Because they are looking at legislators. The Constitution, there is no place in the Constitution where the legislators were created. What is created is the Senate and the House of Representatives and the State Assembly. It is the institution, not the people. The people, who created the people, legislators, are the people and INEC and the State Electoral Commission, not that institution. What you fought about in the military rule is what you have now achieved democracy. The only reason you were fighting military rule because you want to have a legislature, nothing more.
Right.
And that you want to be able to elect those who administer the affairs of the state. But once you elect a president, he becomes more powerful than you. You can't even assess him rather. Even if you're a minister, you have to follow protocol. That is design of state. However, another institution has been empowered to checkmate the president and ensure whatever he or she is doing is in line with the aspirations of the people. That is the legislature. So if the people in the legislature are not behaving well, we have to put on our thinking cap, tackle and police leadership recruitment gateway to ensure that those who can think and function better are there, and not to demolish the institution. Because if you do, you are building another democratic tyrant in the presidency or in the governor's office. Like you are complaining in the state that the state governors have taken over the assembly. You now come to Abuja and you say, oh no, we have to defund the National Assembly, make sure that they are part-time, scrap one chamber. And this tax reform we are debating now, imagine we have only Senate, it has passed. They are already on their way to hospital. But the House of Rep has not even considered it for second reading. So you see the beauty of the bicameral legislature. So let us argue logically and for institutional purpose as has been designed. The individuals may not be behaving well and we can tackle that, but not institutions that have been designed to help us even function better. Any democracy where the legislature is weak, that democracy is under threat. It's only a matter of time.
All right. Let's also take this time to talk about one of the things President Bola Tinubu has done this year. I mean, having to reshuffle, or if you like, rejig his happiness. Some persons, in his words, were asked to leave, while others were redeployed and all of that. When you look back now, months down the line, how much has changed for the better on account of that action?
Well, I wouldn't say anything significant has changed. The only thing is that the humanitarian affairs that didn't have any minister for a while. They now have somebody. And why were people concerned? There's a lot of social intervention programs being run by that ministry, and then it wasn't functioning at the time. And that created most of the challenges we had with people who, expectation and hope can make somebody not to go out to protest. If you remember, it coincided with the issue of bad governance protest and what have you and all that. So is within his right to do so, but in terms of significant impact, except they report progress on what they are doing, we see some ministers, we have seen that of, and they are not even the new ones, we have seen that of Interior, the effort they are making to sanitize the system and improve efficiency. We have seen that of FCT. Anything you guys say about him, he has commitment to show results. It's like it's a product. He wants tangible result, and he can see what is going on. You can see the Minister of Works too, making effort, because designing road and constructing them there, these are not easy things, so it takes a while. And I heard him say, they will be commissioning next year a lot of it. But you also look at the issue of policy and how policies are designed in that ministry, where the 10-lane road is now being reduced to 6. The Lagos Calabar coastal highway. So I can say that, and the some other ministers too are making effort. But the key thing is, I see there is gap in communicating to Nigerians what is being done. And that is why you see this president making effort. In the last 3 months, he has added 2 or 3 media advisors on policy, national orientation and whatever. Because I think he's trying to make effort to communicate whatever that is going on to Nigeria. But it can never be compared to when the chief executive themselves are speaking to those policies and then addressing it. And we have seen also the regional development commissions and the regional ministry that they now have. We have seen the livestock ministry that will be coming on stream in this. But one thing is key. There's no way ministers will implement policies if the budget is not working.
Right.
The 2024 budget have not performed significantly. The rate of performance has been quite low. And ministers and the agency heads are the ones that administer those budgets. So the performance we are looking for from them is how they manage administrative issues, navigate policies, and implement projects. Because the development plan will give them, terminal development plan annually, is this national budget that they list what they are to do. So, and then some of them too have to become innovative and see how they partner with NGOs, civil society organization, development organization to innovate and tackle and achieve things that may not necessarily be in the budget, which is very, very, very key. But in terms of a productive outcome,
right,
we can lay hold on a few which I have mentioned. There are those like police affairs. I don't know what is happening in police affairs and what kind of role the ministry plays in administering police affairs, because since they assumed their office in this administration, we have not really had anything. We have seen the defense ministry being more pragmatic, being more proactive, maintaining almost a daily media brief about happenings, being responsive on social media. In fact, I attended a training where the man in charge of defense cyber security, shocked us with the amount of infrastructure they have developed, and even social media communication infrastructure they are developing to secure. So they've been in the defense ministry, significant, pragmatic, and effective efforts are being made, as we can see with the Chief of Defense Staff and a number of other, yes, they had a very big setback with the passing of the former Chief of Army Staff, but they have gotten another person now and they are moving. And there are ministries we can say, oh, they are making effort. There are ones we can say, oh, they are careful. And agency heads that are very careful, not willing to step out.
What are they being careful about? The fear of the unknown?
The fear of the unknown, maybe being sacked, maybe, or how they came into office, or whatever advice they are getting, from the people. But my point is, actually, the ministers should not be afraid, because you have been screened and you have taken oath of office.
That's right.
It is better to perform best in one day and be sacked than not to perform, because it will be on you. History. The Minister of Youth, former Minister of Youth, I'm sure she may not have known by rating and all that she will not be there. So that few moment you have, use it to do something significant and impactful, because your tomorrow may not be guaranteed in that administration. Let it be said, this person was doing well and will remove. Like most people acknowledge that the former Minister of Human Affairs had her issues, character and public display challenges, but that she was tackling women empowerment in a significant way. So that remains as a credit to her, even though she is no longer part of the government. And that should be in the mind of every minister. Don't waste time looking at anybody's or being afraid to step out. If you have issues, go to the Chief of Staff or seek audience with the President. And that is also why we must restore cabinet meeting in a professional, standard way, so that the members can come and be debated. Cabinet meeting is not even in council meeting where we come to take instruction or watch the face of the President. That is like a miniature parliament. Ministers bring memos there on key policy proposals and it will be debated. We don't want a gentleman system where, this is my colleague, and then we follow back to approve, get approval for major landmark policies. It's supposed to be robustly debated. Nobody should practice gentlemen, and that is the challenge that we have. Robust debates bring out the best. Ask people that are into innovation and strategy. Things are refined, deliberated, debated, argued before all sides of it. The way there is almost in every room, boardroom, cabinet room, tunnel visioning. If you're dealing with issue of housing, for instance, deficit in housing, or and what have you. People, you may look at a situation whereby, people are loitering around here, no room and all that. Somebody say, these people are a threat. Like we hear in FCT that some people are threats and all that. So what we are not looking at social component of the issue. It may be that there is a housing problem that thing is pointing out. So in a room where there are different people, they will be able to perceive it in different ways, and that is why we now talk about measures thinking in finding concept for solution, where somebody can say, okay, if we are doing this, we can start developing if I even police to carry them, then know that there will be somewhere in a holding facility, not cell, because you have not committed any offense for not having house. Right. Except there is a proven evidence that you are a criminal and you are a threat to society. If not, even if you pick them, is to develop a government must also learn how to have their own holding homes. It is there, even in our Criminal Justice Act and the Witness Protection Act, that we are supposed to have where we can keep people and protect them. Everything is not fair. So yeah.
It's interesting, but there's so much we want to talk about. The year is coming to an end. We just have give or take 7 more days for it to wind down altogether, and then the new year will unfold right in front of us. But then we're taking our time to look at where we've been so far, the last 1 year. They say today is the yesterday we talked about. Tomorrow we talked about yesterday. So 2025 is not next year, it's actually 1 week. way. But we want to be, on the one hand, grateful for how far we have come as a government and as a country for this year, and also be man enough and dispassionate enough to tell ourselves the truth about the areas where we fell short, and then use that as a basis to shoot ourselves up better in the coming year. I'd like to say a big thank you to my guest, Chibuzo Okereke, public policy analyst, for coming on the program.
Thank you. So I wish Nigerians happy Christmas and a very prosperous New Year. Believe and you survive, and survival means there is hope.
Right. Thank you. All right. That's all we have for you on Global Morning today. I'm Uyag Mofwebe. Tomorrow, my colleague will be here to walk you through another 3 hours of incisive conversations. Do stay with Global TV.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.